On the eve of the new NBA season, we had a fresh batch of Raptors disrespect, and it comes surprisingly from recent 76ers edition, Patrick Beverley. So, let's find out exactly what he said and break it down. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Amateur Hour Sports, the YouTube channel that is dedicated to Toronto Raptors specific content and videos, live streams, and shorts. So, as we get into a brand new season, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all the videos, and most importantly, drop a like on this video if you find yourself enjoying along the way. But Patrick Beverley on his own podcast sounded off on a number of NBA teams, and the Toronto Raptors were included in that. I think we're in a very unique era of sports overall, where these sport personalities can use their brand to not only have these sort of media careers beyond the game. Usually we always saw that with players after their careers, but now we're in a very unique stage where players are allowed to voice their opinions while they're still in the middle of their careers. But some players like Patrick Beverley are very much taking this in a different direction, where, guys like Paul George like to tell stories around the league. Patrick Beverley likes to just do what I do here. He flat out gives his opinion on various sporting matters concerning the NBA, and the Raptors were very much looped into that in yesterday's episode on the Pat Bev podcast, where he was asked about his thoughts on the Raptors going into a brand new season. And even though I've been down on the Raptors overall as a team, there are specific pieces within the Raptors that are very good, very talented pieces. But Patrick Beverley disagrees. Let's find out exactly what he said.
I was thinking of the Toronto Raptors in that, they have a new coach. They don't have Van Vliet anymore. We don't know what necessarily the identity.
Who's the dog of that team?
Siakam?
I'm cool.
Yeah? Anunoby?
I'm cool.
Really?
I see Anunoby down a dark alley. I'm cool.
Discussing your opinion on an NBA player based on thinking about a dark alley is very Black Air Force One energy, and I think Patrick Beverley fits that really well.
I see Siakam in a dark alley. I don't feel threatened, and it's not no disrespect for them. You know what I'm saying? If I see Siakam with a ball in his hand and I'm dark alley and it's a rim in that bitch, okay, cool.
You feel good about your chances?
I feel good about this bitch. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
So you do know about them, you feel like?
I mean, obviously you know about Toronto. And I'm not disrespecting anybody.
I mean, it's incredibly disrespectful to say something like that. So don't be disrespectful, then say, oh, but no disrespect to them.
But it's nothing that I'm afraid of.
So there you have it. As far as the Raptors, in Patrick Beverley's opinion, there's no dog on that team. There's no guy on that team that he's afraid of in any way whatsoever, which is strange to hear coming from Patrick Beverley. Known around the league as a good defender, I think that the biggest trait that Patrick Beverley has to his advantage is his personality, especially in locker rooms. His on-court play, it's fine. It's NBA caliber. It's certainly no better than a backup point guard in the NBA, that sort of caliber of a player. But his energy and his tenacity on defense really elevates teams. We saw that last season with the Chicago Bulls, and we saw that last 2 seasons ago now when the Minnesota Timberwolves won that championship. They hung a banner for actually getting out of the play-in tournament.
Picked up by Beverley, and that's all she wrote. The Timberwolves are going to the playoffs. Butler, and they're going in 2022, led by in that locker room for the...
All jokes aside, he does make a difference on his teams. We'll see what sort of impact he has on the disaster that is going on with the 76ers. But ability-wise, especially speaking of a player like Pascal Siakam, who is a 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA player, about to earn himself a max contract here, I think there would be reason to be worried if, let's say, Siakam was going one-on-one with Patrick Beverley, whether it be in a dark alley where there's a rim just happening to be behind him, or whether it be on an NBA court. Patrick Beverley just straight up would not be able to match up with Pascal Siakam effectively. And if any team wanted to go ahead and try that, if the Sixers wanted to go ahead and try that, then be my guest. I mean, we have the 76ers and the Raptors going head-to-head early. We're going to settle this one pretty quickly in the season. October 28th, this Saturday, the Raptors are facing off against these 76ers. So, hey, Nick Nurse, new 76ers head coach, feel free to test out the statements here and put Patrick Beverley in the one-on-one settings against Pascal Siakam. So as far as the comments overall, it's disrespectful towards the Raptors. This is a solid team, but I understand, okay, there may be some deficiencies with the roster overall. There may be a lack of shooting on the roster overall. There may be a lack of depth on the roster overall. But I think what the Raptors do have to their favor is top-tier talent. Not top-tier talent, but The roster is top heavy. Pascal Siakam, as I said, with the accolades that he has. Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby. Like, this is going to be a fun team this season. It may be a fun team that, like, makes the play-in tournament, but this is going to be a difficult team to face, and I guarantee you that Pascal Siakam is going to be heavily focused on by opposition defenses, just as he was for the last 2 seasons. Pascal is one of the most double-team players in the NBA. So to go here and suggest that, you're cool.
Okay, cool.
You're not worried about Pascal Siakam is ludicrous, because every NBA coach, every opposition coach, game plans specifically on how to stop Siakam, yet still he's able to conjure up efficiently 24 points per game plus, while adding in a bunch of assists, while adding in a bunch of rebounds. And under a new coach, maybe we can see a bigger jump as well for Pascal Siakam. I mean, last season was so spectacular. Is that the best we're ever going to see? If we see anything better, it will just be otherworldly abilities from Siakam. But as far as the criticism for OG Anunoby, okay, I don't necessarily disagree completely. Pat Bev's co-host here, speaking of Anunoby, I wouldn't necessarily be worried about Anunoby as an option scoring-wise. He's never been an isolation threat. OG Anunoby thrives in transition and thrives in the catch-and-shoot three-point settings, or just the three-point settings overall, but he's not much of an isolation player, so okay. A little bit disrespectful to say that about a fellow NBA colleague, but overall, not the most ludicrous take. But the ludicrous take comes from going directly at Pascal Siakam, because there is very much ability there, and if once again, I guarantee in 1v1 settings, Patrick Beverley is going to be straight up barbecue chicken for Pascal Siakam. So I don't really know what the game is here for Beverley. He is like an all-time hater. If we go back a couple of seasons when the Suns lost by 500 million points in Game 7 to the Dallas Mavericks, the next morning, Patrick Beverley, like that Suns Mavericks game was West Coast, late night Game 7, and the next morning, like 6 a.m. Eastern time, Patrick Beverley was dressed up and ready to go and was appearing on ESPN NBA shows to completely roast and criticize Chris Paul. So as far as the haters go, like, this is a generational hater that we have here, and he is not going to care at all about what people think about the opinions here. But specifically when it comes to the Toronto Raptors here, why are we catching strays like this? Why is Pascal Siakam catching strays from fellow opposition? But you know what? We're used to the disrespect. We're used to hearing things like this. Ultimately, what can the Toronto Raptors do about this? Well, it's simple. You got to go out there on the court and try to win as many basketball games as possible. And one in particular, maybe Anunoby and Siakam, won't outright say they're focused on a little bit more, but maybe one they want to be focused on even more now is against the 76ers on Saturday. I already don't like the 76ers. Now we want to show up our former coach, Nick Nurse. Now we have this thing with Patrick Beverley also weighing on the mind going to that game. That is going to be a feisty game that I am super excited for. But what's great about the Raptors this season, as much as I've criticized the operation side of things in the offseason, as much as I've criticized the way the roster is constructed for the upcoming season, the vision is clear as to what they want to be this season. They want to be a winning team this season. Whether they're going to be able to do that remains to be seen, but they want to be a winning team, so it's a fan watching the team this season on the eve of the Toronto Raptors home opener against the Minnesota Timberwolves. We know that this team is going out there every single game trying to win. And if things kind of start slow, there's not going to be any looking back. There's not going to be any pivoting in a different direction. It is full speed ahead, trying to win as many games as possible. If things go wrong, we try to figure it out on the way. But that's what's going to allow this season to be exciting for Raptors fans. This team is trying to win games. We're all on the same page. Let's go Raptors. Let's get some wins, and in particular, let's get that win Saturday against the 76ers to show up this statement here. But what do you feel about the disrespect? Is it disrespect at all? Let me know your thoughts on what Patrick Beverley said and who would win in a one-on-one matchup in the comments down below. That's all from me. We have an excellent season of Toronto Raptors coverage coming on Amateur Sports, so make sure you are subscribed to this channel, drop a like if you enjoyed, and check out the rebranded second channel, Amateur Sports 2, for general NBA content. Here it's all about the Raptors on Amateur Sports 2 at Amateur Sports 2. It's all about the entire NBA. We'll see you again soon for another video.